As a second-generation Vietnamese Cambodian American and a child of war survivors, there are gaps in my knowledge and understanding of my ancestral roots. Somehow, much of the art, the culture, the history never reached me. So this is my way of learning, growing, and healing through community. Today, I have with me my two Vietnamese sisters who I am excited to have with me today. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. I reached out to these two ladies who I will have them introduce themselves shortly, but I reached out and I wanted to interview you both because in my eyes, they are community leaders. They are doing, I don't know if revolutionary is the right word. That was the word that came up in the last conversation. But I definitely want to say you are making history. Absolutely. So yes, I would say revolutionary. And it is an honor to be in the space with you both. The recent event that you both had put on recently for the community, I just watched you both do your thing on stage in front of everyone. And I felt like, wow, I'm friends with you both. Like, I'm in the right circle. So for today's conversation, I'd love for you to share with the community the 1975 projects that you are working on, the 1975 initiatives, and really dive into the importance of the work that you are doing and the impact that you see as a result of what you are creating.
Well, thank you, Alcina, for letting us be here with you today. Like literally letting us, because I think that it's so easy to kind of like be with each other and yeah, we know each other and we're friends with each other, but allowing us to be in the same space, time, orbit with you, to share with you and letting us into this magnificent project that you're doing, right? I think it's, we're grateful for that. And I think it ties us even firmer and stronger in many ways. Hi everyone, I am Linh Vũ, or Linh Phương Vũ. I go by Linh, and I am homegrown here in Boston, Dorchester, Massachusetts. However, I came here as a refugee with my mother in 1992. Well, we lived 6 months in the Philippines Refugee Center. Came here's in the United States, first to California. Stayed there for a few years before we had our second migration to Boston. And I've been in Boston, Dorchester ever since, so long, I don't know, but over 25 years. Yeah. And yeah, we came here via the Immigration Homecoming Act. So my mother was a daughter of a Vietnamese mother and an American serviceman.
Yeah, co-signing what Lynn said, thank you so much for the invitation and to be a part of this conversation and to share the work that we've been delving into. I'm Ngọc Trân Vũ, she, her. I identify as an artist and cultural organizer. Like Lynn, I was born in Vietnam and I came here with my family when I was 4 through the humanitarian operation program. My dad was a lieutenant in the South Vietnamese Army, and we were actually supposed to go to California, but our host family, sponsor family, pulled out at the last minute. So my dad ended up deciding for us to go to Boston, even though we didn't know anyone here. And I grew up in Boston, different neighborhoods, and just, yeah, been really, really firmly based in the Dorchester community.
It's so funny because earlier we were talking and we're like, we knew this about each other, but just naming it, we are so similar in so many ways. Like our background, how we got to the United States, and really all of that drove us passionately to go through the cultivating of our passion, in our early years, our 20s, our, early 30s. And then now here we are, right, co-leading this initiative that is really giving back to the community that raised us and formed us. So we're really similar in a lot of ways, and I think that's also energy attraction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're here together as well.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Parallels. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your backgrounds. I am not surprised that all three of us are sitting here. I'm not surprised that you two are the ones leading the same initiatives. So I would love for you to share with the world, what are the initiatives that you're working on right now?
The initiative is formally called the 1975 A Vietnamese Diaspora Commemoration Initiative. And under it, we have two current focus projects. We have the 1975 A Vietnamese Diaspora Memorial, which is a public art project that is heading and aiming to be a permanent art project in the Boston Ocean Culture District area in Phil's Corner, Dorchester, Massachusetts. And then the other one is the 1975 Vietnamese Diaspora Oral Stories Project, which is aimed to collect, archive, preserve Vietnamese diaspora oral stories and histories so that we can use it for generations to educate, to platform, to be counter narratives in order to be dominant narratives in the U.S. diaspora.
And I would add the two projects very, very much are interconnected, and they very much inform each other in paying, homage, holding memories and space and healing within the Vietnamese diaspora community and also beyond too. So that's really both our vision and then also how we are building out the process of engagement and for the projects to be truly community driven and based.
I want to be clear here also is that both of these ideas are not new in terms of like what the community desires, right? The community desired a memorial for a long time now. It's just a place where they can actually call their own, made by Vietnamese people for Vietnamese people of the diaspora, and also communities of shared experiences, to call their own, to feel safe, to be reflective as well, to be central and where they can congregate. And then the oral stories, people are sharing stories, and whether it's in the family or in the community, and kind of like using that to educate, to build connections, to make further connections all the time. And so like giving it a platform and kind of like making public kind of placemaking as well, giving it a platform to exist and to exist for generations to come is really what we're doing, and we're just furthering the work that has been done by the people who have come before us, and we're using their energies to kind of like continue their legacies.
Yeah, that's very true. It's the first time that this type of initiative is happening locally and in the Boston and New England community. There are a lot of Vietnamese diaspora community throughout the U.S. and globally too. Some of the work that has happened, I would say, isn't taking shape in the same form that we're doing it. So I would say that the way that we're going about it is very, very, very different. And it speaks to really our core and really thinking about intergenerational and thinking about accessibility and really in fostering an ongoing healing work that has already been happening.
Are you open to sharing the process of the first project that you mentioned? Like the vision of what are the steps that you're needing to go through now to physically manifest this permanent public monument for the Vietnamese community?
Yeah, I can definitely touch base. I was actually, I've been sharing with Lynn as we're like going along kind of in the process, and it's like I really want to cultivate my intuition. That's a part of it. We purposely, intentionally created, the community engagement aspect so that the community informs us their ideas, their feedback, and it's a very different process than typically an art project, and especially this large of a scale in a permanent form. Usually, the art is chosen by a committee and and it's very much done in silo. It's like certain committee members, the design is already formulated. For us, and how our process is really going about it in a way that really is community driven, that I don't have an exact design or idea in mind. It's like we want to cultivate it in our conversation, in dialogue, and really memories, and very dream visioning, which is some of our engagement nights in the community, and thinking about really cultivating a space for our community members to really envision what hasn't been done and what is it that they want to see. And then part of our work is in figuring out the logistics, figuring out the feasibility of that, but really in leading really with the dream and visioning, which is something that's, our community members are often not as asked of or have the space to really think about that in a public way.
Yeah. What has it been like to facilitate these conversations for the community of all ages to envision and dream and hold space to tap into one's intuition and imagination?
It's been very powerful. I think that you just feel the energy, right? I think that
Yeah, I'm getting emotional. I'm like,
I think that wanted me to cry. I think, like I said earlier, the desire to kind of create this and place make in the U.S., right, in our diaspora community is not something new. So like this passion and this artistry in each and every one of the community members of all ages, kind of like all of that, those aspects live in them. And then so like in those spaces where we have dialogues, right, intergenerationally, they come out. What have been maybe like dormant or even in some spaces of U.S. society suppressed, right? In our Vietnamese diaspora community members have come out in this space where they're so, every time they share vision, they're so proud of it. Yeah. And in sharing a vision, they also share their stories. And in sharing their stories, they're building bridges. And every story and every like moment of sharing is like an extra brick, an extra block to this bridge that they're building for connections, not even amongst themselves, but like generations, time. It transcends everything and space, right? This Vietnamese community here in this pocket, every one of those stories is bridging to another Vietnamese community in another pocket globally. And so like it was so powerful to kind of see that and let it kind of organically happen. And also it's like their stories are being shared and then it's being confirmed and accepted, acknowledged, received, and that helps them with knowing how powerful their positionality is in history, but in also contemporary times. And it's like empowering our community members to like continue to be visual, continue to be the artists that they are, continue to share. And so I think powerful is the right word. But then from that, we also get a lot of ideas, right?
Yeah.
So much ideas, which Jen probably can talk about how she's been like looking at these ideas. Because we do note taking and like vision boards, every one of these conversations. So we have so many visions on boards after boards, and how is Jen the lead artist to kind of like look at that, cultivate it, let it come to her in dreams. Hint, hint. Which it did. So it's been very powerful in my experience.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Powerful, illuminating, very, very insightful. And also, I would say it's also can be kind of, scary, too. It's just like, especially I think in the unknown, and really like letting go for things to happen organically, which I would say in my experience in working in the Vietnamese community sometimes is like that, making sure that, especially as refugees, as immigrants, like not knowing, when how things are gonna land is very scary. Yeah. And it's like, how do we make sure that this process is truly engaging, accessible, and that is moving in a way, because we do have to operate on a certain timeline with institution, with places that we have to come in contact with to build a memorial on public land. And so, but at the same time, I think always being mindful that it's about, our community first and foremost, and how, as Lynn mentioned, how do we give back? How do we integrate it in a way that really honors the memories, the sacrifices, our histories, and that continues to build upon really existing work that has been happening. And so, yeah, that's a lot of things to hold, and especially in facilitating a process that continues to unfold in different ways. The initiative, the project has gone through different iteration as we continue to consult with our elders, advisors, partners, to make sure that we're in alignment, because I think that always needs, tuning too, because it's like, as much as we have, ideas on how to go about it, it continues to evolve, and that's what was also so beautiful about it too. It's like, and I think for us to be reminded of that, how do we continue to remain nimble, but at the same time responsive to our communities and what is being put forth.
I'm curious to tap into your artist, the artist side of you in this, from one artist to another. What does it feel like to be the leading artist on this project here? What does it feel like to essentially be chosen, right, to lead in the way that you do from the artist's perspective, and what has that brought up for you, and like your processes? And I love that you mentioned dreams. Every time she mentions like your process, she includes the word dreams, and for me, I want to hear more.
Yeah, we were just talking about right before this, like, in that I have this philosophy, and it may kind of sound cheesy, but I really believe we're all artists. Is how do we use our creativity? How do we cultivate it and really make the space for ourselves for that artistry to bring forth? I appreciate your question. I definitely feel like it's been a calling for myself in stepping into the lead artist role. I'm really thinking about the path that have led me to this very project, and the team that we're surrounded by, and the people that have lent so much support to us. And it really, there's been just so many things that sometimes I don't even realize it until I'm like, oh yeah, that happened so that this could happen, or when something didn't happen, it was supposed, to be that way. So a lot of things, a lot of synchronicity, a lot of things that unfold in very beautiful, sometimes very challenging way too. When we don't get a certain grant or funding support, is because something else is gonna unfold. In the process that we have cultivated, it both, like, my work and what I'm called to do is like, to be mindful of the ideas that's put forth, to make sure that it's truly accessible and inclusive. But at the same time, we also know that we can't make everyone happy. And there's a lot of ideas that's put out there, and especially when done in a public kind of engaging way. So I had to remind myself of that. And this being the first project of its kind, being the first of anything, there's a lot of, pressure that comes with that too. Also, we want to, be mindful of just, the different generations too, and making sure that people feel like they're being heard, their narrative, valued, and that they continue to know that they have a space. We continue to learn from them. But I think, to your question about, that's what I'm really trying hard to really keep in mind, and really like, what is my intuition, both like, what am I being guided to, but at the same time being really in a reality way, what has happened, what hasn't worked out, how can we truly move this project forward in a way that's gonna come to fruition. We're really mindful that we have to, in a timeline, and that's also close to one of the catalysts, is that next year, the year 2025, is the 50th anniversary commemoration. And that was part of the catalyst that's like, we have to really keep this moving in a way. Our elders are, some of them have passed on, are no longer here. Our parents' generations, how do we do this in a way that, while people that are still left, at the same time, connecting that to the threads of, the present and future generation. So really, in a way that making it a very holistic way.
Yeah. To recap, like to reflect on all that you both have shared, it's revolutionary. I'm going to stick to that word. You're bringing together a community of intergenerational, meaning there are very, generations together. You're giving voice to what has been historically voiceless. And there we go, the emotions and the energy. I hear strength, like for you to both take lead in this. That means the life path that you have been on and you have endured. I feel like there's elements that have come back full circle, and that's why you are in the position that you are in. your gifts, your strengths, maybe previously weren't even deemed as strengths or gifts, but now they're coming up for you to hone into that, to be able to lead in the way that you do. Using your intuition, but discernment. I'm also hearing that you have discernment here. There's no fear, there is no doubt, there is a knowing. There's a lot that's here. I love that you also mentioned healing, and then transcending beyond time and space. Honoring. I love that you mentioned honoring those who have already passed, and I didn't even know that next year would be the 50th anniversary since the end of the Vietnam War until recently. So you both are pioneers. Not many people know that, and because of the work that you're doing and having at the forefront, you're changing lives. And it's not even just the living ones either. Like past, present, and future. I'm just gonna take a deep breath right now. Yeah. I just wanted to just sit in this energy. My heart feels full. I'm alive to witness this.
Definitely, what a time to be alive.
She's out here, she's like, I got it. Well, you and I are like, I'm crying over here.
Cry at the drop of a hit.
What for the global community that's tuning into this, what do you want them to know about the work that you're doing, about just anything? Like, what is the message that you want to share?
I have so many thoughts, and I'm hoping hopefully be able to string them together. You sit in front of a camera and you want to be like able to like string the right words together. But I do want to kind of like share, and maybe from there, help.
Yeah.
Kind of like move the conversation along more too. When you first asked about the global community, my mind goes straight to, yeah, sure, we have a globe, right? And we think about like the people who are living currently on this globe. We think about that community, or we can define it as like the Vietnamese community of the diaspora globally, or we can even think about like the diaspora communities with shared experiences globally. But when you mention global community, my mind goes straight to like all of those that I mentioned, but also who have passed and who are to come. So like the diaspora communities, the Vietnamese people of the diaspora who have already passed, the refugees who never made it to a receiving country. There are things in the world that are still happening that will create more people of the diaspora. And so I think of that as the whole, how I define the whole global community, because it is not stagnant in time. It transcends time, space, and dimensions. And they're also listening, like people who have passed to a different dimension, they're also still listening here. So what I think of what's my message, right? What my message to them is, we honor you. We respect you. And we recognize you. And we acknowledge you. And all of the sacrifices that you have made generates like the energies that we are honing in, that are driving us today and for more times to come. So my message to who still exists in this global community and who are to come in this global community. When you're called to work on your craft, to work on your passion, whatever it may be, don't ever forget your roots and what truly help you grow. They are the roots of your tree that help you build the branches and the flowers and the leaves stemming from it. But also don't forget, you will be the root for more trees and branches and flowers and leaves to come. This is the legacy that we built as a global community together, is to recognize all the existences in our community, the ones who have passed and the ones to come, and that our work, their work, transcends time, space, dimensions, and that's really powerful to think about it that way. So never let anything stop you. You mentioned we look like we have no fear, and to be honest with you, Tran, you know this about me, but I kind of there will be like other projects I do, and I'm like, okay. But somehow for this, I do come with no fear. I'm just like, what do you mean? We're gonna get that done. People are like, what about like permitting for public spaces? And I'm just like, yeah, and and we're gonna get that done. Yeah. I think a lot of it is like our experiences that I mentioned that has cultivated us to this point is like a maturation process, right? To help us to have enough experiences and be equipped enough to like, yeah, and okay, moving on. We're gonna move on in terms of like that no fear, right? Yeah. And we also know that fear is just illusion that you build in your mind, and you kind of get through it if you kind of have a shifted mindset that you can do it. A lot of it too is we have a very grounded support in the community, all generations, and we are only growing much more support. I was talking to Kang, one of our elders, yesterday, and he was like, you guys are moving quick with such good momentum. And I've never seen, and he's been in the community for decades, and he's like, I've never seen like an initiative with this project moving so quick. Like quick, not in like a reckless way, but like quick in a very thought through, like it's moving, its momentum is like, it's like a rolling ball. And we're only picking up more mass, right, as we go. And I said to him, it would never have been possible without the community and the support that we have built already during our maturation, and continue to build. We would never be rolling and building mass if it weren't for you. And also, I think about like, our ancestors like guiding us and giving us like praise and like embracing us and caring for us, and all of that too. That energy is just like, yeah, don't have fear. Like they don't even let me think about fear. I didn't even think of the word fear once, and until you mentioned it earlier, I was like, okay, yeah. So my message is, when you feel called to do something and you feel like it's this burning passion, let it burn. That fire will burn, and it will just let it burn big and wide and heartily and warmly and hotter. And never forget the people who are around you, past, present, future, who will be there for you. And if you are confident in those people, if they trust you and you're confident in what you do and your choices, have no fear.
Beautifully said.
Was it?
Beautifully said. It's perfect. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah. It's all.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to.
Came together. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just co-signing all the stuff Lynn said in a very beautiful way. I'm definitely just feeling a lot of gratitude. Yeah. I mean, being able to work with Lynn, being able to, just work with the people that have, really stood by us over the years, and that now is, in a way, that opportune, transformative time, especially coming out of the pandemic. And the world has shifted in so many ways. Feels really, I think, the timing of things too. I mean, lean on Lynn for that, having that no fear. I do have some, fears too, but I think in really thinking about fearlessness, it's oftentimes not about the absence of no fear. I think for me, it's like there's fear, but go ahead and do it anyway. And that's part of that, I think, journey. I always sometimes think, I think one of the hardest things that one can do is work within your own community. That's like I think one of the hardest things. It's the people that in a way know you so well, your networks. And so it's like when you mess up, like they know it and they will not be afraid to call you out. And I just over the year, and seeing different things that have unfolded, but I also think that's where really the most fertile ground is for transformation, for renewal, for possibilities. And so oftentimes when I hear about projects or things that are happening, I'm always like, what is the relationship with the people who are doing it? And oftentimes you find is actually from outsiders. And there's a lot of, things that come with that, power dynamics, different, things. And that's why it comes back to like the hardest thing is I find to work within your own community. Whether it's even your own family, your own but it's like to be in familiar, quarters can be intimidating, but at the same time, there's that what Lynn talked about, that that knowing, that confidence, that when it's right, it's true, right? I've been reflecting a lot on our calling, feeling, compelled, the momentum, the shifts. And sometimes we really have to really push forward, even when, there are blocks and challenges, because it's like the knowing, almost like overrides that. It's like if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And it feels very much like this is meant to be. My mind is also drawn to, I think, thinking about the narrative of war and the impact, especially in the current time that we're living in globally. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in terms of violence, in terms of, just the trauma that have built upon, generation and generation, very evident within our own Vietnamese diaspora community, but thinking about what is the lesson that how can it, really be truly learned? And it's just really horrifying just seeing what has, transcended and what continues right in front of our face. Thinking about which of our responsibility and how do we come to the work, the passion, amplifying what needs to be told and shared. This work is rooted in the Vietnamese diaspora community, but I think there's so much resonance amongst, other communities, amongst just really the narrative of why is there even a diaspora? What does that entail? We're in very, privileged position to be able to even, do the work that we're doing. And it's not without so many sacrifices from our families, from our ancestors, from people around us. We could pat ourselves on the back. This is really important work, all these things, but it's like, what does it mean to leave behind really a continuing legacy through the arts, through the culture, to invite people to be accessible and inclusive, and especially thinking about our positionality being in the US and in the belly of the beast. And sometimes I think about I'm here, we're here is because, the U.S. played a role in the war in Vietnam and so many wars around the world. I think to the global community, I think examining our own positionality is so core, and what is our own role in bringing about peace and bringing about healing in a way that really, support one another and truly care for one another.
Oh, I love that reflection because it invites the viewer to reflect on history, what's happening presently in the world. And I appreciate that question. How do we truly learn, right? If history continues to repeat itself, when are we actually going to truly learn? So I appreciate that invitation to reflect our positionality. And yeah, I also like that metaphor of being in the belly of the beast. Yeah.
Hi friend, it's Alcina. I wanted to come in here and say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of my journey. If you enjoyed this video, and maybe you have been following me throughout the whole entire Healing Through Community series, and you are behind the mission of generational healing, please consider contributing, donating to the Sound of Healing documentary project, where we go to Vietnam and Cambodia to go learn what the ancient sounds are, to then incorporate that into new conscious healing music. If you haven't heard my music yet, this is the time to do so. I'll include the link down below for you to check it out. It's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, so that you can better understand what is conscious music, what is healing music. It's music that it's intentional to make you feel good, uplift you, motivate you. This is your opportunity to be a part of a project that will impact generations and promote healing beyond time and space and beyond the physical realm. This is a project that is near and dear to my heart, and it is also a divinely guided project. Next year will be the 50th anniversary since the end of the Vietnam War and the 50th anniversary since the start of the Cambodian genocide. 2025 is a big year, and that is our deadline to finish this project. But we can't do this project without your support. So please do what you can, spread the word, and if you can contribute, please do. And let me know if you have any questions, feedback, thoughts. Thank you for your consideration, and let's continue to heal and grow together. Bye for now.